Coming to you from the skirmish line, I'm RJ Balde, and this is the TRICHOMES hashitout podcast. On this show, we feature conversations about trending cannabis topics. We also bring in industry insiders and influencers to discuss their point of view. In this episode, I'll be talking to Kim Barker about the unique hurdles in getting a legal, fully regulated, and lab-tested, California-certified cannabis product to market. We'll also talk about how the coronavirus pandemic presented its own challenges in the middle of her company's rebranding, and much more. Without further ado, let's hash it out. Today, I am joined by Kim Barker, CGO at Cksoul, a California-based wellness brand with a focus on supplying premium, safe, and expertly prepared whole plant cannabis oil tinctures and related products blended with additional all-natural terpenes for people of all ages. Kim, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you for being here. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you right off the bat here how you are doing with everything, with the current state of the world and all of the news that has been bombarding us for the past all this year. So how have you been doing?
Yeah, I think that's a question that, everybody just wants to ask everybody, just really look them in the eye, which obviously we're not doing right now, and just be like,
Sure.
How are you? And how are you, how are you holding up? And, I think, obviously these, the events of the last week or so, 10 days have been very stressful and very eye-opening and very hard to see, hard to hear, and, but definitely a position to take pause and listen and, really try to, be a productive member of our society that can do the right things at all times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely think that this time it's a call to action, just like any other civil rights movement or equal rights movement has been. But for some reason, I don't know if it's a mixture of everyone being stuck in the house, like everyone's online more often, but I feel like this has really awoken people on a whole nother level compared to previous times.
It's not only heightened because, for the most part, many parts of the United States, we've been really inside for, I'm closing in on 3 months now.
Yeah.
But given the fact that we have been home all this time, and I'm a single mom to 2 young boys, that it's given us this chance to really have amazing conversations and really talk through and start at the home level of what's happening in our country. And, that for me is priceless, that I have that opportunity to do that right now and, really have, tough conversations and conversations that really hopefully will make a difference, and that every household is taking the opportunity to do that today.
Yeah. And that really does make all of the difference. It's one thing for people to post, a black square on Instagram or, tweet out a hashtag, but to actually look other people in the face, person to person, and have, like you said, that difficult conversation, and to listen, I think is of the utmost importance now. And I think now people are really starting to take the time to fully listen to what people have to say, as opposed to have some sort of knee-jerk reaction without fully taking the time to hear someone else's perspective and to really listen to what they're saying, as opposed to getting, immediately defensive as to what's going on if it might challenge your everyday life or the privilege that you're used to.
Yeah, we have all this time right now, or we have had this, gift of time to really, think, obviously, and, use this time to be reflective, use this time to have conversations, use this time to, I really am a big believer that it starts in the home. And you have to, you have to have conversations, and you have to teach and talk to your children about what's happening in the world in a way that's age appropriate and meaningful. And, despite all the challenges with COVID and being home, having the situations that have happened, it gives us a chance to really dig into those things. And for that, I'm thankful.
Certainly. And I respect you for having those conversations, because easier said than done, because like you said, it can be extremely uncomfortable, but it's important. It's important to have those conversations.
And it's hard. Listen, it's not easy. And I always tell my children I don't have a magical answer, and I don't know all the answers, but that's okay. As long as we can talk about it, and we can be open, and we can be honest, and we can work together to, being a part of the solution, and being a part of change, and being a part of, just, I'm a really big believer in, choosing love. And, if we can just
Mm.
choose love, we can really make a stand, and make a difference.
I love that. Yeah. One of my spiritual leaders one time shared with me the mantra of being love, of literally being the definition of love. And once you take that on in yourself, you therefore see that translate to all of your actions. Even in dark times, it's important to look for the good, and it's important to find those rays of sunshine. Mr. Rogers used to say, "Look for the helpers," and I think that's very important,
Yep.
now more than ever, for sure.
I don't remember who I heard it from, but somebody said this phrase to me one time, and it really has stuck with me. And it's love looks like something.
Ooh.
And so if you think about that, like, so I think about that in my everyday life. Like, what does love look like? Love can be, between, a mother and a child. Love can be, smiling at your neighbor. Love can be just asking somebody, how are you? Like, I come back to that phrase often, that love looks like something.
I love that. Yeah, you definitely have to translate it from an idea into something tangible, for sure. Yeah, I love that. Now, shifting the conversation to you now and to Cksoul, what is your background, and how did you first get involved in the cannabis industry?
Sure. I've been in cannabis for about 10 years, which is
Mm-hmm.
almost unheard of in the cannabis space.
Yeah, yeah.
But I have been. So I started in the cannabis space in Colorado with my ex-husband, and we were one of the first people to receive a medical cannabis cultivation license. So we went through all the legalization in the state of Colorado for cultivation and dispensaries, and then kind of rode that into the adult use legalization in that state. And that really morphed into consulting across really all over the world. I've done consulting in terms of bringing brands to market, working with
Mhm.
developing leadership, developing sales, working with dispensaries and in how to do buying. So all kinds of different facets within the cannabis space. But my background previous to that is on Wall Street. I work for J.P. Morgan Chase for many years as a senior vice president in the private equity wealth management area. So kind of
Mhm.
combining the financial world and the cannabis world together.
Nice. I love that.
Thanks.
Now, what brought you to Cksoul, and can you explain to our listeners what you do as CGO? What is that?
That's a chief growth
Mm-hmm.
officer. Um, I had been consulting for some time here in the state of California, and I was just at a point where I really wanted to join something and be a part of something for a longer term. And so I started, looking and seeing what was out there. And I had met Tracy several times in different cannabis environments. And we met up, and they were at first looking for somebody for sales and marketing. So when I first joined Canna Kids, which is now Cksoul, I came in as the vice president of sales and marketing. We transitioned into a company that was doing a rebrand, and there was many facets to that. And so today I'm the chief growth officer. So my role really has three different distinctive parts. So I do the operations and production. So I was the lead on the actual manufacturing and production of our new product line. I do all the sales. I head the sales team for us, as well as I am the chief marketing officer. So I work on all the marketing strategy, sales strategy, and production strategy as well.
Wow, lots of hats, huh?
Exactly. Yes, lots of hats,
Lots of hats.
which is not uncommon in the cannabis space.
Yeah, true, true, true.
I mean, you have to really understand, I believe, the whole business to be able to execute and be successful. Because this is a business that changes rapidly. There's things that are always happening, good, bad, and indifferent. And you have to be able to speak that language regardless of the setting that you're in.
Yeah, definitely. Now, we had a colleague of yours, Tracy Ryan, on the show back in April.
Yes.
She told me a lot more about how she decided to launch the brand and the product line after her daughter was diagnosed with a brain tumor at 8 weeks old. But for those who may not have heard that episode from way back in April, can you just elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. Tracy is our founder of Cannabis and Cksoul. And the company was founded on the premise, really from a mother's heart of trying to work to find solutions to Sophie, her daughter, who was diagnosed with cancer at 8 months old. That has been our inspiration to everything that we do. So Tracy worked with a team of formulators and doctors and scientists to come up with formulas that could help with the cancer diagnosis. So they used cannabis in conjunction with her traditional Western medical protocol, and have had unbelievable success. I don't like to get into a ton of details about the medical aspects of Sophie because I'm not an expert in that area. I leave that to Tracy, but
Sure.
so Sophie has been on chemotherapy for the past 6 years because the type of tumor that she has is kind of slow growing. So there wasn't a lot of options for treatment other than long-term chemotherapy, and so. Sophie, who's now 7 years old, has been off of chemotherapy for the last 6 months, and she is considered stable at this point. She continues to take cannabis, both THC and CBD, on a daily basis on a regimen that we have found that have worked, because as we know that cannabis is different for every single person, and finding that right mix that's right for you is really important. And so we are so excited and thankful that Sophie is stable. And so just as Canna started as a mission to provide safe medicinal plant medicine for children and patients of all ages that were in high risk medical situations. Just as Sophie's story has evolved, so have we as a brand. So we went from Canna that was very medically focused and really targeted to the medically fragile community to Cksoul that is really out there for your health and wellness journey, regardless of whether you have a very serious medical condition or you need to use it for just everyday wellness. So that's kind of how we have evolved as a brand and as a story. So as Sophie is stable and thriving as a 7-year-old should be, and we really look at it as she's there because of the power of this plant of cannabis. We have evolved too as a brand to be able to bring that goodness to everybody.
Yeah. Now, when we had Tracy on, it was before, like you mentioned, the planned rebrand from Canna to Cksoul. She had mentioned that the pandemic had sort of thrown a wrench into things. They sort of had to delay the transition or the rebranding. So, how did the coronavirus pandemic present its unique challenges to that rebranding?
Well, it has definitely been unique
Yeah,
to
to say the
launch,
least. Sure.
yeah, to launch a brand in the middle of a pandemic. Our initial launching point was going to be at Hall of Flowers, which are you familiar with Hall of Flowers?
I am not.
So Hall of Flowers is one of the biggest trade shows here in the state of California that is
Nice.
really brand focused and focused on dispensary buyers. So it is the perfect
Mm-hmm.
launching point for a brand because you have the captive audience of the people that are the first step to getting your product out into the consumer world, the dispensary buyers. So we were planning to launch at that show, which was delayed because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to pivot our strategy. And I would say the strategy had to pivot, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times.
Oof.
Everything that we had planned for a launch we really had to blow up and look at and kind of move in a different direction because of COVID. So we were originally scheduled to launch on April 1st. Because of the pandemic, we officially launched on April 20th. No
Mm-hmm.
pun intended, April 20th, 420. Um,
Yeah, sure.
and
Serendipitous timing.
yeah, and so which was exciting. But all of our marketing efforts and the things that we had planned to really build brand awareness at the dispensary level as well as the consumer level, we really had to look at, examine, and shift and change because of COVID. The typical methods
Mm-hmm.
of getting the word out there weren't available anymore. So we had to look at things differently. And I'm excited to say that we have had great success in launching a brand in a pandemic. And I keep saying to the team over and over again, if we can do this now and during all of these challenges, just think about how amazing and how many consumers we're going to continue to help and support as the world, kind of shifts and changes into a new normal or whatever our new normal may look like.
Certainly. I definitely think that those in the cannabis industry during this pandemic lockdown time have sort of had a leg up just because of the nature of the cannabis industry and how it's forced, ever since its inception, people in the industry to remain incredibly nimble. And you have to really be adaptive to what's going on in the cannabis industry because it's always changing.
You're exactly right. I mean, the cannabis industry is famous for, I call it shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
Like that, there's always like a shiny object flashing at you, and
Yep.
you either try to chase it or stay on your path, and you're faced with, oh wait, should I go down this? A lot of people are going down that road.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which way to go, and that's really how cannabis has evolved. And as a newer industry, you do have to be extremely flexible. This is uncharted territory for all of us to take this plant medicine and bring it into the forefront of American society when it has not been there in the past. And it is so amazing to me to see that through COVID, all of a sudden cannabis is essential. Like
Yeah.
how did we go from, you
Yeah.
know, illegal and bad and the war on drugs to we are
To
essential? And
essential. Yeah.
I mean, and that switch happened like overnight, and
Mm-hmm.
that's, that all of us in the cannabis industry should, one, be so thankful and, so excited about that, because that really opens the door to having legitimate conversations about the power of this plant
Mm.
and the medicinal benefits and the wellness benefits behind it. And so I think that because of COVID, it puts us in a great position to continue that trajectory forward.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Now, speaking of the focus on the benefits, on the medical benefits, one of the great things about Cksoul is that you take time to highlight the terpene profiles for every product that you have out there. So, can you tell me about how you kind of explained a little bit about this, but how did Canna Kids evolve into Cksoul? And then what do you believe is the right mix for how to succeed in this ever growing, ever changing cannabis industry?
Sure. Well, Cksoul, the products that we have today
Mm-hmm.
are very, very similar to the Canna Kid products.
Got it.
We did not change the formulations, we change the branding to be able to reach a broader audience. So we wanted to be able to speak to not only the medically fragile community and people with very serious medical conditions like epilepsy and cancer and things of those natures, but we really also wanted to talk to the everyday person that can use cannabis and plant-powered medicine to really boost their immune systems and be healthy and use it as a wellness tool. So the formulations haven't changed from one brand to another. It is really an opportunity for us to cast a wider net and be in front of a broader audience on a day in and day out basis. Regarding the terpenes, if you've looked at the website or you've looked at the packaging, we really tried to take our branding in a way that helps us educate the consumer out there. Because as you know, cannabis can be really confusing and
Sure.
there's not a one size fits all for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
one of our core values is really educating the consumer so that they can make the necessary decisions for their own health and wellness. So as part of our branding and our packaging, what we did was we looked at what do we actually have inside these bottles and inside of each product. So our products not only contain THC and CBD, but we also add in natural terpenes in addition to what the plant has to offer. So we add in those natural terpenes to enhance the benefits that you would get from taking that. So you can see on our packaging, every package has a different terpene on it, or a different plant that you find those common terpenes in. So we've used that as part of our branding, as a part of our messaging, and as a part of our educational series to really help educate people that there's so much more inside this bottle than just pot or cannabis.
Yeah.
There
Sure.
is so
Sure.
much in there that is really beneficial to your health and your wellness.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that Cksoul prides itself on is meeting all of the state of California's regulations for putting a legal cannabis derived product on the market. So, can you tell me about the process for meeting all of California's cannabis regulations? Because we all know California loves regulation. So, how involved is it, and how long is that process for you to get
Sure.
fully, yeah, fully like the stamp of approval from the state of California all the way to getting it onto the shelves?
Well, you are absolutely right. California does not make it easy, but that's okay
Yeah,
because
sure.
we want people to have we want people to feel safe in knowing that the what they're putting into their bodies is
Absolutely.
good, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what we're committed to. So we go through a process of when we the process of sourcing our materials starts with looking for flower that meets our criteria, and so we have a very rigorous criteria that we look for in the actual cannabis plants that we use, and we look for the different cannabinoid profiles. We look for how much THC versus CBD. Does it have any other cannabinoids in there? All of our products have at least 4 different cannabinoids. So that could be THC, CBD, CBDN, THCA, all of these different types of cannabinoids. There's thousands of different ones, and they're discovering different cannabinoids every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we first start. So we first start looking at the actual plant and making sure that it meets our criteria. Then that plant gets tested to make sure that there's no heavy metals, no residual pesticides, anything that could possibly be not good for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if it can't pass that test, then it can't be sold in the state of California. So that's the first test. Then we bring it in, and as that plant is processed into a distillate, which is an oil, then we test it again to ensure that nothing has come out of there that we don't want.
Sure.
So we test it again. And these tests that I'm describing right now, those are not regulated by the state of California. Those are ones that we choose to do independently to ensure the quality of our product that we put on the final shelf. And so we test it again. Then we mix the blends together with THC, MCT oil, and the added terpene profiles that I just described to you. And then it gets tested again. And then, when that test is done and we have the formulation that we want in terms of potency and things of that nature, then it gets into the final bottling stage. Once it gets into the final bottling stage, then the last step in the process is you do have to go through what's called a certificate of analysis through the state of California. So it is sent out to testing again to get a certified certificate of analysis that it passed all the rigorous testing that the state requires, and it gives where the potency levels are for THC and CBD and the different cannabinoids in there. And then once that happens, then you can get onto a shelf in the state of California.
Wow.
Just to give you an idea of time, that last stage test, like we get it all in the bottles, it's ready to go. That last stage test can take anywhere from 7 to 10 days. So if you can think about all of these different steps of how long it actually takes to produce a product and actually get it onto the shelf, it's quite a long process. I can't produce it overnight.
Definitely. There are certainly a lot of steps, a lot of things you have to check off.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
Exactly. It's important to do. And I mean, and we do that because we want people to feel that it is a safe product that they can take and they can feel very secure in knowing the process that we've gone through.
Certainly.
And I also add one of the things that we have added with our new branding is we partnered with Lucid Green Technology. So all of our products that are on the shelves in California dispensaries have a QR code on it. And if you scan that QR code, not only can you learn about the product, but you also can bring up that certificate of analysis so that you can see it yourself from a certified lab from the state of California. So
Wow.
you can scan that QR code. You can see it for yourself. Oh, wow. All right. This is the lab they went to. This is all the details about the plant that's in this bottle. And we did that so, consumers, again, can get educated and consumers can feel comfortable that they're getting quality, safe product to put into their body.
Sure. And that's definitely a key, right? To make sure that the consumers are fully educated and have access to that sort of information. I think it's really great for you to add those QR codes on your product so that people can have access to that information so they have a better idea as to what they're putting in their bodies.
Yeah, and the other thing, I'll just kind of elaborate on that, is it is a part of our education, but it is also designed for the consumer, so the consumer can actually start through that QR and Lucid Green partnership and application, which you can get on your phone. You could actually start tracking your dosing and seeing how much did I take? How did I feel? Because, as I mentioned earlier, cannabis, there's no one size fits all. Like what might be right for me might not be right for you. So there is some give and take in this process to say, all right, we encourage our consumers and our the people that we talk to start small and, add a little bit more if you're not getting the effects and the outcome that you want. But that Lucid Green app that we've partnered it allows a consumer to track their doses as well.
Certainly.
And then just to add on, another thing that we offer to all of our consumers is personalized guidance. So the cannabis world is very confusing. It's sometimes confusing for me, and I've been in it for a very long time.
Oh, definitely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
There's thousands of strains out there. There's thousands of different products out there. Like, what is going to be right for me?
Yep.
And so we offer a personalized guidance to any consumer out there. They can go onto our website and either call or email us at support@cksoul.com, and we can either refer them to our network of doctors and nurses who specialize in cannabis dosing and protocols, as well as we can give them resources and things of how to start on their cannabis journey. So we do have to be very careful, again, because of California regulations, that we can't say you should take this amount. We can't give dosing advice, but we can point you in the right direction. We can give you guidance. We can get you to the experts like nurses, doctors, and nurses that are in our network, and really help people navigate this world. And that's what we're all about, that education and support.
That education is so, so important. You were speaking about how cannabis isn't one size fits all. You know, it's different for everybody. Everyone's needs are different. Everyone, you know, some people might need a different formula, as you say, than someone else. Now, from what I've heard from a handful of people that work in cannabis marketing, it's that cannabis marketing is a hot mess. That's basically the consensus that I hear from a lot of people in cannabis marketing. Now, Cksoul offers products with labeled such as with words such as elevate, boost plus, restore, support, balance, renew. You know, there are so many companies out there that advertise their cannabis products as providing specific effects, even if their products aren't as rigorously tested, or if different customers report experiencing different effects from the same product. Now, we've talked a lot about the extensive testing and the extensive certifications that you go through at Cksoul. What else does Cksoul do differently to ensure that the efficacy of the labels and the packaging is up to standard?
Sure. Well, first, just going back to your comment about cannabis marketing and being a hot mess. That is exactly correct. You know, our hands are very, very tied into what we can say, how we say it, and why we say it. So we cannot make medical claims. We can't say this is going to cure your disease. This is going to do this or that. Because the cannabis plant has the properties that what it might do for one person, it might not necessarily do for another person. Right. So we have to be very, very careful in the language that we use to make sure that we are not making medical claims to the consumers out there. But what we can do is work to guide them to things based on the formulations that are in the bottle that it should and could help with. Mm-hmm. So, you know, for example, our Renew product has a rose on it. Roses typically have different terpenes in the plant, and we have those terpenes inside that bottle along with THC. And one of the things that those terpenes and that blend promotes is it may help you with sleep and relaxation, so that you are renewed when you wake up in the morning.
The whole, I guess, sort of launching off point that we mentioned earlier was, like we said, Tracy's daughter's brain tumor that sort of launched this Canna Kids and then eventually Cksoul. You mentioned earlier also that you're a single mother. How does that mission resonate with you personally?
Well, I mean, I think, you know, one of the things that personally attracted me to coming to be a part of Cksoul is this story. Because as a mother, I mean, we will do anything for our children, and we will go to the ends of the earth to find solutions to their problems and solutions to whatever is going on in their life, because that's what moms do. And so to hear the story of a mother going out there and looking and finding and putting every bit of effort from not only a heartfelt position, but also a medical and science position behind finding something that was going to help. You can't, you just can't not resonate with that as a mom, and just, I think, how could anybody not resonate with that
Yeah,
story? And
sure.
and so it's very inspiring. So one of the cornerstones to things that we share, not only about the education, is that we are really rooted in family, like, and nurtured with a ton of love. Like, we would not be where we are today without that basis of family and the nurturing of love that it takes to be able to help a child that has, a life threatening and, life altering, diagnosis. And so, those are the basis for what we do, like, that we're rooted in this family, that we're all in this together to help people, and help people on their wellness journey, and help them find what is right for them, whether they are suffering from, autism, if they have epilepsy, if they have cancer, or if they're, the everyday Joe who has aches and pains, or just somebody who wants to boost their immune system because, they're nervous and, they want to be in the best position possible given what's going on in the world today. So, without that family unit of where we started, it wouldn't be possible to be where we are today.
Definitely. Family, love makes the world go round. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Love, right?
No doubt. Vila, yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yep.
Well, Kim, thank you so much for spending the time with me today. Before we go here, where can folks find Cksoul, the work that you're doing? Where can people go?
Sure. So you can find us at www.cksoul.com is our website. We are also on all the social media handles. So it's cksoul_ on Instagram, as well as you can find where our products are located either on our website or on Weed Maps. We are adding dispensaries here in California every single day. So check back. And consumers can also opt in to receive our email newsletter that we send out every week, that has education and brand happenings, and really on that focus on education and consumer awareness. So those are all ways that you can help, as well as we do have a charity arm called savingsophie.org.
Yes, indeed.
And that is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that's dedicated to the research of cannabis and cancer. So all great ways to get out and learn more and support us, and, see how we can help you.
Absolutely. Check them out, everybody. There'll be links probably in the description of this, wherever this appears on the internet. Yeah. Kim, thank you again for taking the time. I really appreciate you spending time with me today, and I hope that you remain safe and you remain well.
Thank you. Thank you. You as well. Thank you so much for having us today. We really appreciate it.
My thanks again to Kim Barker for joining me. If you are a member of the cannabis community and have a story you want to share with us, we would love to hear from you. You can reach the show at hashitout@TRICHOMES.com. You can help others find the show by taking a moment to subscribe to the podcast and write a review. You can also join the discussion with industry insiders and get your voice heard by joining the community at TRICHOMES.com and following us on all social media. Hash It Out is produced by David Fortin and presented by TRICHOMES.com. I'm RJ Balde. Thanks for listening.